just minimize this. Cool. I think it's still working. Okay. All right. So if you have, so if you can all open up RStudio, this is probably something you should see. If you're unfamiliar with RStudio, I'll give a really quick overview. So this here is your R script. You can think of it kind of like your notepad for what you kind of want to write. So none of this code will actually run through the R console until you want it to be, but it's kind of just like I said, like a notepad. And then down here, we have the console, which is actually where the R is being actively run. And so any line that you type in here will be run through the program. This shows any kind of variables in your environment. And then this fun little thing will show like the files in your directory. There's a plots, there's packages. I don't use a lot of these things, but anyway. So when you make a plot, it will kind of pop up here, which is what we're going to be doing today. So if you have not yet already, we're going to do install.packages, and then in quotations, you want ggplot2, and then if you hit Command or Control Enter, it should run. I think that means it's in here. I don't know. This isn't my computer. Let's check. Yeah, okay, so it loaded in my library, so you need to also do that as well. So once the package has been installed, you need to load it into your current environment. So that means that it kind of brings the package into R for it to be available for use. So I kind of want to talk about what ggplot is really quickly here. So I'll write some stuff in a comment on the script up here. So comments are obviously things that are not read by the program, but just kind of for your visual pleasure. So kind of the basic components of a ggplot2 plot. So you need a data frame. If you're unfamiliar with R, data frame is a kind of looks like an Excel file. So it's got rows and it's got columns. So the example data set that we're going to be working with is one that's built into R called MPG. So if I just go head MPG, this is kind of what your data frame will look like. So you have your columns, which show all the manufacturers, the models. This is car data, so for whatever cars this was, they have a bunch of different information about what it is. I don't know, cool. It makes for a really good sample data set. So yeah, so we need a data frame. So that's the kind of data frame that we're going to use. All right, so then the next part that we kind of deal with in ggplot, so we need a data frame, first of all. And then we have these things called our aesthetic mappings. So the aesthetics are how the data are going to be mapped according to like size or color, like how you want to display your data. So essentially the aesthetics. And then we have geoms. And these are the geometric objects. So these are the things that are like the points, any lines, shapes. So you would give the geoms certain aesthetics. Does that make sense? Okay, so just finish. Okay, so that's kind of like the three basic things. So you can also add the way ggplot works is kind of interesting. So it's kind of built in layers. So GG stands for grammar of graphics, and this is kind of the whole mindset behind this package. And the reason why everyone uses it is because it's really easy to layer on things and things and things, and it makes you able to modify a graph really, really easily. So let's kind of get into it. So let's make a graph. So we're going to call the ggplot function, which is the main function in ggplot, obviously. So the first thing you need, let's say. So we're going to tell, so ggplot actually does something really, or RStudio does something really nice where it, like if you type in a function, it will tell you all the arguments that function can kind of take right off the bat. So we're going to tell it, our data is equal to MPG because we're using the built-in MPG data frame that comes with R. And we're going to tell it, so the aesthetics tell it the X and Y variables. So I believe it goes X then Y, right? Or is it what? Yeah. Yeah, it's X then Y. Okay, so we're going to have the displacement, I guess, whatever that means for cars, versus the highway, which is whatever, doesn't matter. So, but if we run this plot, if we run this function, and we try to call G, it's not, oh, it does work. Okay, well, but there's nothing on it, right? It's just an empty graph. Because we didn't give it any geoms, we didn't tell it that we need like something to display our data. So what we do is you're going to add to your ggplot. So the nice thing is this is actually somewhat different than regular R syntax. If you guys have been using R for any amount of time, but you're not familiar with ggplot, so you just use the plus operator to kind of add on to your graph. So let's say we want a scatter plot, right? So we're going to call geom point. We're not going to give it any aesthetics yet. We're just going to use the default wearing plain aesthetics. So if we run this command into our console, and then we hit G again. So I'm typing G in the console here so that it displays it. And so now we've added points to our graph, and now we can actually see something. So that is kind of the gist of ggplot. And so you could imagine that like with this plus operator, it makes it really easy to kind of add on to whatever you want. So let's add a smoothing line or a smooth line. So if we go geom smooth, so what this does is this is going to give us a line of best fit. So method is one of the arguments that you kind of need for this, and we're going to say LM, which is just linear, like regular linear regression. So if I hit Command Enter on that, so we've changed our G, like what we've assigned to G. So let's see what we got here. And so now we have the linear regression line for this, and the default, I believe, gives a confidence interval of 95%, like that's what these gray lines are. So you can obviously modify that to suit your needs for your plot. But you can imagine, I'm actually just gonna fix this so it's a little easier to see here. So in like a few, like that was really fast, right? So imagine you already had your data set, like your professor gave you your Excel file, you imported your Excel file into a data frame in R, which is just another simple function. You can like throw up a plot really, really fast. So that's kind of the nice thing about R, but to be honest, this is kind of an ugly plot, right? Like gray and random lines. No, I don't like it. So, so let's change the color of our points. Let's go with color is equals This is kind of a default color. It's just called steel blue. So if I run this, oops, sorry, this is on my computer. What did I do? I think I tried to hit, oh, hold on. I have to put the plus. Sorry, it's because, and enter. Sorry, I screwed up sometimes here. I'm just trying to separate it out so you can see it. Doesn't, you can do it all in one line. It doesn't, you don't have to do the plus like this. This is just making it easier for everyone to see. Sorry. Yeah, so now if I call G again, we've modified our plot. So now we've got 2 points on here. Cool. I mean, not that exciting, but so you could even, like, if we wanted to. So color is one type of aesthetic to our point geom. Does that make sense? So another kind of, so the interesting thing about ggplot is that each geom can have its own aesthetic, like I've just done here for color equals blue. So this blue color only applies to the points, right? We're not coloring anything else on the graph. But if we wanted to color based on referring back to our data, which is obviously something that could be informative, you have to specify that with the aesthetic function. So let's do that. So within our geom point function, we're going to call an aesthetics function, and we're going to say, let's color it. So color it equals DRV. So this is the DRV column from our MPG data frame. So if this will make more sense when I run it. So if I run this, because every time we change something, obviously we have to rerun the command. So now we have colored our points based on the drive. So now we're showing 3 types of information on, you know, a 2-plot graph, or a 2-dimension graph. That's what I'm trying to say. I guess now it's 3 dimensions since we added color. But anyway, so we have our highway mileage, our displacement, and then I think this is like this must be like front, rear wheel, 4-wheel drive. Anyway, whatever. So plus we have our line of best fit. So you can imagine that if we were to add, you know, we can even change the size of these points. So let's change it to size is equal to 4. And let's see what that does. So those are huge dots. Never mind, we're not going to do size of 4. We're going to do 1. Okay. Oh yeah, that looks a little better. So now it's a little easier to see. And so the nice thing also about ggplot is that let's say let's get rid of the change the size of this too. So let's make it size is equal to 2. So remember, because we're changing these arguments are only applying to the geom smooth function. So we can still have our size 1 dots, but we can have our line with size 2. We can, I think SE equals false. We'll get rid of any error lines, I'm pretty sure. So if I run this and then take a look at our graph, okay, yeah, so that's also a big line, but it got rid of the confidence interval lines. So I'm gonna make this 1. It's too big. Yeah, okay, so now we just have our regular linear regression best fit line. We have our colors, and so you can, and even ggplot has these things called themes that are kind of built in. So I always use theme black and white because I'm boring, as you can tell. I pretty much only wear black and white. But So if I just do theme black and white, this kind of automatically changes the plot for you. And I think it looks better than the regular gray. I just like a white background. I find it easier to kind of view. And you can, within this theme, you could change, so the function to change all the text type is base family. So you could imagine that if you put, let's see if I can spell this right. Let's try, let's do times because I can spell that. Even though Helvetica is the better font. So, and then we have a look at our plot. Okay, so now we've changed everything to times, and it looks much more old school. But you can, and you can see like in literally like 15 minutes, not even, and I'm obviously going slow because I'm showing someone that I've made a pretty decent graph, I think. And you can modify this even more. Let's say you wanted to add a title, what is the thing for that? Labels, right? Yeah. So the function to add a title or labels is lab, sorry. So title equals my graph. And let's run this through the console. Oops, sorry. Okay, so we've added a fun title. Let's see if I can make this bigger. Sorry, this. Oh yeah, and you can see here G is our plot, and it's got a list of 9. So that's probably not going to make sense unless you know a lot about R. But ggplot works in lists, in case you were curious. But yeah, so I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to, like you could add. So within the X, within the labels function, you can add like an X label, which would be, I don't know. This is what I wrote, so I must have looked it up. Leaders, and then you can add a Y label. Highway miles per gallon. Okay. So let's run this all again. Oops. Yeah, you're right. This thing is finicky. The scroll pad on my computer is a little finicky. So not mine. But okay, yeah, so here we go. So we've added some per gallon, engine displacement. We've added some much nicer titles. What else could we do? So, I mean, and these are just scatter plots, right? So the other thing that I had actually open, so if you go, the great thing also about ggplot is that there is a ton of resources out there. Like, so many people use it. Can I open a new tab on this?
Yes.
I don't know if that works. Did I fuck it? Oh, no, I didn't. So if you go to ggplot2 current, this is, here we go. Oops, not theme, but here we go. So if you go to docs.ggplot.org/current, this will give you every type of geom possible with ggplot. So you can do like bar plots, you can do box plots, you can do density plots, you can do dot plots, violin plots, like any plot that you can, that your little heart desires, you can do on here. And there's also, like I said, like built-in scales. So say you had, you know, data that was numerical and you wanted to scale it continuously on a grayscale, you can do that with you know, different functions. You can Oh, I should show you faceting, actually. But the other thing that I wanted to show you real quick, too, is that ggplot has a cheat sheet, which is really, really good. It's a PDF. I have this printed off, like double-sided, near my desk. Not gonna lie. So it's really good, actually. So it kind of tells you the basics of the program and kind of the plots that you can do if you have one variable that's continuous or discrete. So yes, only use bar plots on discrete data, people. So, or like, you know, you have two variables, whatever kind of variables you have, it really gives you a nice kind of overlay of all the types of plots there are. And then on the next page, it kind of gives you how to, like, what kind, if you wanted to like change the stats, which I actually don't do really on ggplot at all. But I think this is more if you have like a histogram or density kind of plots. Ugh. Oh, this is real bad. Yeah. Or like I said, the scales, if you wanted to, you can fill it out for manual colors if you have like colors that you wanted to do, or you can scale it based on aesthetics. So based on like, kind of like as we colored our plots based on another column in our data frame, you can do that. You can scale it that way. You can change positions. Like I said, here's the titles, themes. You can, I think, yeah, if the guides function gets rid of that legend that automatically pops up. So that is a really, really awesome resource. So these kind of two resources will be your best bet, or you can do what I often do and just Google your question and guaranteed Stack Overflow will have somebody that came into the same problem, or you can even post on there. I've done that a few times as well. So yeah, what else do we got here? Yeah, so I might show you some faceting. I tried this before, but on some people's computers, this was at when we did, what was that thing that we did? The title of the, yeah, software carpentry. When we ran a software carpentry thing, so, you know, that thing, but we had people that had like really small processors in their computer and the faucet just like, so unless you have like at least 2 gigabytes of RAM, I probably wouldn't do this because we've had she had like what, like 1 gigabyte of RAM and it just like crashed her computer. Yeah, she got really mad. But like, generally if you have a normal computer, you should be fine. But that's kind of the downside. Yeah, just don't fasten a lot of stuff. So that's kind of the downside of R in general, is that everything pretty much is done in your RAM, in your working memory. So that's obviously a downside. People have kind of like made packages to kind of like a lot of the stuff that, so ggplot is made by Hadley Wickham and his kind of group, and he's done a lot with like kind of like, I think it's like C code under the hood, right? Yeah, so people have written packages for that and stuff to kind of like work around it. That's really the main downside of R, is I'd say, like if you're working with huge data sets, like I remember when I first started using R, I used to have to use like the big iMac in the lab. Like I couldn't run it on my computer because it would just crash. So that's kind of like a word of caution. But these were like huge data sets. Like I'm talking like tens of thousands of rows. So, but anyway, let's facet something. So if I go, the function is facet wrap. And so this is kind of interesting. So if I do, oh no, hold on. What should I wrap it with? Let's just do, so we have it colored, but we can also facet it, I think. Yeah, okay, so here, this is what faceting really is. So what we've done is we've separated the points out. So they're still colored by the drive too, but now we can explicitly see see with like one small function, like we have, okay, so we just want to look at the highway miles per gallon versus engine displacement of just the four-wheel drive cars and the front-wheel drive cars and the rear-wheel drive cars. So we have it all kind of separated out. They all have their line of best fit. And that was pretty easy. So the tilde, it kind of matters which way. So if I put DRB on the other side, it's going to do it, or like it's going to do it, well, I'll show you. It's going to do it the other way. Oops. Does that not let you? Oh, right. So we have to put a dot to tell it that we want it all, I guess. I don't really fuss it that much, to be honest, but it is kind of a useful tool.
Is it the space lock or space lock?
Yeah.
No.
I don't think that should matter though. Yeah. Okay. Well, what it should do is instead of, hold on, let me just go back to the regular way. Or do I need to do? I don't need to do facet grid, do I?
Oh, maybe that's what it is. Yeah.
So there's two functions. I don't really know the difference between wrap and grid. I guess this is it if you want to do it this way. What am I trying to show you? Yeah, okay, so this is what I want to show you. So I guess if you wanted to do them like lying on top of each other, you have to do facet grid, otherwise you would do facet wrap.
Facet grid doesn't always work that way though. Because this was facet grid.
That was?
Yeah.
What did you do?
Just typed in facet grid. Because I couldn't figure
But I think if you don't like, if the default is for it to do it in like columns, and then but if you put it before the tilde, it will do it kind of like in rows. That's probably something you can find on your own time because I'm not going to Google search it right now. But anyway, yeah. I mean, I'm not a programmer, but I'm a dabbler. But I do use this a fair amount. You can also make heat maps with it. I was going to show you one, but the data is on my computer. Like I was just going to kind of show you what I would make in ggplot. But I forgot the adapter for my computer, so sorry. But you can make nice heat maps in here. That's something I do a lot, just based on the work that I do. Let's see what do I have here. Do I have a default one? Oh, you have one. Oh, well, it's kind of late now. Thank you. We should buy one for the group. We should buy some adapters, just FYI. Oh, okay, so I do have one here. But I have it using the Reshape2 package. So I didn't tell you guys to download this, I don't think. But I'll just quickly throw up. Oh, I have this all done. I have this done with like dplyr too. I don't know, should I even bother? You probably won't be able to follow along. Yeah, no, I'm not gonna bother. Well, we have 20 minutes, why not? Okay, so let's see. Dplyr. Well, and there's dplyr imagine. I think. Anyway. Still kind of downloading.
Pretty big, yeah.
It does take a while. Fuck, sorry. What? Oh, well. It's a good package to have. If you guys do any kind of bash scripting, like the piping, like dplyr allows you to pipe in R, so that's really kind of the main benefit of it. So instead of having to type out command after command, you can just kind of pipe it all out. So I've gotten into using that, and it does make things a lot easier. Because the thing with any kind of heat map is that you usually need to change the structure of your data frame from like the normal kind of what was that, wide format into kind of the tall format where you need like 2 columns, and that's how you would do a heat map in R. I don't know if anyone cares about that. What kind of plots would you mostly be using ggplot4? Does anyone have any questions or questions about R in general? All right, now it's done. Okay, so I use the empty cars. Is another data set in. I don't know why R has a lot of car data sets. I guess it's like publicly available data. So if I just look at, yeah, so it's more kind of car stuff. So this is kind of I guess an intro to dplyr as well. So this is the kind of pipe command, %, greater than %. And so what that does is it's saying, okay, take empty cars and then use that data frame, and we're gonna select, I think I need TDR2, right? Is the select function in dplyr or TDR?
Which one?
Select.
That's dplyr.
Oh, okay, it is in dplyr. Okay, cool. Never mind. Okay. I always load so before I start every R session, I load like dplyr, TDR, and ggplot. So that's why I never really know which one's which. Anyway, so we're gonna select columns 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if you use Python at all and you have no idea what R is, so R doesn't have that thing where it starts counting at 0, it starts counting at 1. So what I'm saying is let's select MPG, displacement, horsepower, drat. Basically, I'm getting rid of these last columns and this cyclical columns because I only want the numerical data, those that are fully numerical and not factor data, because I want to make a heat map. So then I'm saying, all right, so once we've selected the columns that we want, we're going to take the pipe and we're going to perform correlations on it. So, and then the next step that I have here, I'm going to round my correlations to 2. And then I'm going to melt. So this is the Reshape2 package, which I don't know if you've downloaded that or not. I didn't do it with TidyR, I did it with Reshape. Basically, that's doing what I said and turning it from wide into tall. But that's something you can kind of, if you're curious about. And then we can actually use the piping to ggplot2, which makes life really fast. So we're gonna do and so the geom tile is the one that you're gonna want if you do a lot of heat maps. So if I run all this, so that took me what, 2 minutes, not even to type out, and I was talking. Oh, is it backwards? No. Oh, I didn't load. No cap. Try one more time. Okay, cool. So by default, it does it in blue. So all the correlations, you can kind of see how all these variables are correlated to each other, and that didn't even take very long at all. So using a few simple packages, we quickly threw up a correlation plot. So when you use the melt function, it will automatically assign like your first column as variable 1 and your second column as variable 2. So it's like it did the correlations and then we melted it. So it's kind of hard to show you because I didn't save it up as an individual variable, but I can do that actually. Why not? So if I go, so this would be the long way of doing it without using that pipe function. So if I just said T, I keep going backwards on your scroll because mine is different, like it's the other way. Anyway, so let's use the up arrow. So
You still use the old columns as well?
no, so that's what I'm kind of showing you right now. So I'm going to kind of, I guess, show you how melt function, and this is the same kind of, it's a very similar package. Oh my God, no, screw up. Anyway, it's amazing how like you get to like one machine and then you're like the most incompetent thing ever on anything else. Anyway, so if I just do, actually, why don't
put them in the data sets?
yeah, I do. Select. Oh crap! I don't even. Yeah. I don't even know how it's. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sure.
Because first of all, this is working in the other thing is that and it says that option for R1 not run, but I actually wanted to ask you about what those percentage or percentage.
So that's piping. So this is another package that I probably shouldn't have showed you. I just like, to be honest, I wanted to do this more in depth, but I just didn't have time to like figure it out today. So I kind of just took something that I already made and tried to modify it. So that's called piping. So what it's doing is it makes your, so I'm going to show you the traditional, this is how you would traditionally do this in R is what I'm doing right now, where you'd kind of assign every variable. So I'd say select, so T is going to be that. And then we're going to say, all right, so what's my next step? Let's perform the correlation. So we're going to call it R. It's going to be core of T. And you kind of go step by step and do everything that I just did. So, and then we'll say Q is going to be round R to 2 digits. And then we want, I don't know, it's a letter I haven't used. W to be melt Q, okay? So this would kind of be how you would do it all. You would kind of throw everything up with a variable. And if I just do head of W, so I'll just do, so, and then I'll show you head of Q. So this was what we started with, was our correlation values for everything. And then I just took those and I melted them into one variable versus the second variable, and then the value that correlates to it. So this is like reshaping the data. The package is called reshape2. And so we need it to be in this, oops. We need it to be in this long format, in the W format, for the geom tile to work. But what the percent thing is doing is you need the dplyr package, like I said, and that just is what took a while to install. So you can kind of install that on your own time. But what this does is instead of having to do it, I can't. Instead of like doing it all this way and like continuing to go on and then, you know, writing geom, ggplot, W, and then all our aesthetics, and then adding the geotype. Like instead of writing it this way and making it and then clogging up your environment with a bunch of different variables, I mean, this makes it easy to go back and look at all your stuff, right? So that's kind of the bonus of doing it the long way. But this way saves kind of memory and it makes it faster. So this, do you do bash scripting at all? Do you do bash scripting at all? No, okay. So this is called a pipe. So what this does is it's saying, instead of typing out the command like this, what you're doing is you're saying, take this data and do this with it. It's kind of like the backwards way of thinking about it. So you're saying, take this data, do this with it. Then take this data and do that with it. Then take that data and do this with it. Then take this data and do that with it. And then take whatever the output of this and do that with it, right? So it's kind of like you're funneling your stuff through it, as opposed to doing it this way where you're saying, create a variable, do this thing. Now create another variable doing this thing on the old thing. Then create a new variable doing this thing on the other old thing. And you know what I mean? So it just kind of makes your code easier to read as well. This wasn't supposed to be an intro to dplyr, sorry guys. But in the end, it kind of, it also makes it more efficient, I think, for your computer as well. So it doesn't clog up so much of your RAM. Yeah.
So if I load dplyr, I can use this on literally
anything. Everything you want.
Yeah,
So
it just takes the output and uses that output as the first argument to the next.
yeah, in much better terms. So we should do like a whole session on that, eh? At some point. Do we? A while ago?
So this is a session on dplyr?
dplyr.
So I have a question about ggplot.
Yeah.
Does it do like any three-dimensional,
So you can do,
like surfaces? Or
yes, you can do surface plots, but I've never done it. How do I get back to? Yeah, it's not like fully 3D, but let's see here. You can do like density 2D plots where you can kind of like, there's this cool plot I saw of like, it's kind of like a contour contour plot mixed with like, and then you add in like, so yeah, I saw one like someone did like a volcano and it was like the shape of the volcano and then like the heights, and then they had other stuff on it too. So you can kind of do graphs like that, but you can't do it like a true like XYZ plot. I don't think that there's anything.
Okay. Yeah, so it looks like the raster one is more the style.
Which one?
Like Csv Files uses discrete X and Y data, and then raster uses continuous X and Y data.
Yeah. It's just 3 variables. That would be something I know nothing about because I don't. Like really the only 3-dimensional thing I use is like color.
Right.
So I guess that's kind of what they're describing as 3 variables. But yeah, because the aesthetic, like the fill, technically I guess is another variable because you can do that with using a continuous variable, right? Like I just did with the correlation. So if I go back to our studio, like this is a full gradient, right? Like it's not plotting based on discrete values. Like it has 1 is this color and then 0 is that color and then everything else is a gradient. So I guess that is technically a third variable because it is a continuous variable and not discrete, but that's not really something that I ever do. But you can do, I guess, a third variable, a third continuous variable, yeah. But so my data never gets that complicated. The most, I guess, like this would be the way that I do a 3 variable, because I guess I do that with gradient kind of like scales.
Yeah, this is a 3-dimensional plot, but in this case, the x and y are your different categories. I normally do it where the x is a length and y is a different.
Oh, okay. Like, I'm sure there is a way to do it. It's not something I'm.
Ggplots in R, yes. Ggplot, no. The guy who wrote Ggplot has pretty strong opinions about publishing 3D figures, so there's a reason why.
No.
Yeah, they're kind of misleading.
See papers 2D.
Yeah. But like I said, there has been a ggplot released for Python, as far as I know. I'm not sure.
Until you get this guy.
Yeah. So yeah, it's made by like Y-Hat. Is that how you call it? I don't know. But so this is like something, if you're more familiar with Python programming, it uses kind of the aesthetics, the kind of the add operon, blah blah blah. Although they have it as plus and then a slash, but
the slash is just to say it continues on the next line.
oh, okay. Yeah, I don't program in Python, but there might be a way you could kind of marry the two in Python. I'm sure there's more, like, I feel like Python has just been more robust for that kind of stuff rather than R. But it uses the very same kind of like syntax, so you could maybe think of something. Somebody may have figured that out. But yeah, so it uses the aesthetics and kind of the geomes and all that kind of stuff. That's kind of the most confusing part, is if you want your aesthetic to reference back to your data, you have to use the Aes function. Otherwise, you would just, change it like right in the geome. So that's kind of the difference. Like, these are aesthetics to the geome, and this is an aesthetic that refers back to your data that's specific to the geome point. And then these aesthetics, the X and Y variables, apply to the whole graph. So anything in the ggplot function applies to the whole graph, and then these are kind of their own individual things here. And so that's what kind of like, that's why ggplot is, that's the grammar of graphics, is just saying like, let's be able to separate this all out, and so we can kind of really modify the exact thing that we want. So like I said, like in the, yeah, like, changing the colors one, changing the font, whatever you want to do, kind of thing. Like, I could specifically change the color of each X and Y label and get really fancy with it, but yeah, I don't know. Any other questions before we're done here? But does everyone feel like they could at least muddle through a plot? Yeah, no?
Maybe that's true for other people who use R, just saving and exporting graphs.
Sure. So that so here, if you go export, you can save them as an image or save them as a PDF. I would recommend saving them as a PDF. So, and then you can kind of preview it. You can change the size that you want based on images. It's not like, this is the best way to kind of modify them, but you can always like save them as a PDF, and then that means you can open them in Illustrator, which I do a lot. If you really want to like add two kind of figures together that you've made in ggplot, I tend to do that in Illustrator, or you could use any sort of PDF editor. Or you could save it as a JPEG or whatever kind of images. I don't really use images that much. I pretty much do everything in like vector-based graphics, but you could do that. And so that's how you would export a graph. What? ggSave.
I think it's just the equivalent.
And that does what?
Save the last plot that you made.
Does save the last plot?
And you
Okay.
can also specify like,
Which plot?
yeah, but you can also specify the size. So you could just put like
Okay. So
width equals 5.75.
oh, so I've always done it this way. So I
It's
didn't
like
even know that.
But if the thing is, when you think about it, if you bring in new data and you want to run a project method,
Yeah, then it's yeah. So either of those methods will work to save your plot. And if you're just kind of going into very basic like R, if you want to get your Excel, so there's two functions, read.table and then read.csv. So these apply whether or not you have like read.table, it's for like XLS files, XLSX or whatever they are. And then CSV files are for CSV files. I tend to do everything in CSV because I find sometimes the Excel format doesn't always want to work with R. So it's easier to just like save your Excel file as a CSV in Excel and then just use your CSV in R, and then you can kind of, then you have your CSV, you have like, and then it will give you a nice, so reads.csv will take your Excel file and put it in a format that looks like the empty cars where you have your row names, whatever row names that you specified in your Excel, in your CSV file, and then you kind of like, you would put like row names equals whatever. You can think about how you want to modify that function yourself, but then it will take every column that you have in your CSV and put that as a column in a data frame in R. So it's very, very easy and quick to kind of, yeah, like, and generally that tends to be what people have. Like your supervisor tends to work with Excel, at least mine does. But yeah, so, and then you can also, if I wanted to, like if I had data that I modified, like say I calculated correlations on my data and I wanted to save that table, you can also export CSV files from R as well. So it's very easy to kind of like put in your data and take it out and then put in, I don't know how you would read in plots, but I'm not really even sure why you would want to. I can't think of anything you would ever want to do with that, but you can easily export your plots. So yeah, all right, well, it's 7, so I guess I'll end here now. Before I go, does anyone have any other questions? Is trivial or beginner? Like this is an introductory class, so please never hesitate to ask questions. Yeah, cool. All right, thanks guys.